This is Signal and Noise, bringing clarity to data, tech, and AI.
Signal and Noise, day 3, nearly our last interview, and I still have energy, thankfully, even though I've been eating all day, of Hyphometrics, the CEO and co-founder of the pod, about measurement. Hyphometrics is really deeply involved in sort of kind of next generation household and person-specific measurement within households across channels. And I really loved how we started talking about in Seattle. You're out of Seattle, but you're not a Seattle native.
No, I'm a former New Yorker.
Former New Yorker.
Consider myself a New Yorker for life.
Oh, that's great. Are you like in New York City, one of the boroughs?
City. Yeah, I mostly lived in Brooklyn, but I just loved living and working there. It was fantastic.
Yeah. And you were born and raised.
No, I'm from DC.
Oh, you're from DC. Okay. Yeah, but enough of time in New York. Yeah.
Over a decade, so I think it's allowed.
Yeah, and I think there's some. And so, have you had some culture shock moving to Seattle? I mean, or is it something that you've just adopted, embraced, and been like? I mean, culturally, I think it's super interesting. I was always into the music, the whole underground music scene of Seattle was like kind of what I grew up with.
Yeah,
I won't say grunge, but it was like a lot of that, like really deep stuff in that music scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Seattle culturally is very interesting. The summers are fantastic.
Yeah.
So the outdoors are just absolutely stunning. I think it could use a little more like pizzazz here and there.
Yeah. A little more of like the raw, like in your face street culture of New York City.
Yeah. I think so. I'm just like walking into like a busy restaurant and everyone's like laughing and being loud.
It's a little quiet.
It's on the quieter side.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of pluses with that too.
Yeah. We were talking about this in one of my earlier pods. I talk about New York as sort of like forced adaptation. It's sort of like you're constantly challenged by your environment. And I think it actually comes down to there's a lot of that street culture, which is sometimes in restaurants or in places, but it's also out on the streets. And not every city has that. But anyways, that's a little bit about us. New Yorker love, like I'm not a New Yorker by heart. I'm from the Boston region, but I've been there for 26 years. So I guess I am a New Yorker by heart. I technically consider myself that, even though I live in New Jersey.
I read in New York Magazine once that you have to live in New York for 11 years before you can say you're a New Yorker.
Yeah.
So we're both there. We're good. 20, we're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah. So Hyphometrics, I mean, you guys are doing some really interesting stuff. And I was asking you a ton of questions ahead of time in terms of how you are really kind of challenging, we won't call it currency, but how you're challenging sort of like person level household measurement models, which are currently or in the past have been really controlled and arguably monopolized by companies like Nielsen. Mm-hmm. And I was at Nielsen for a few years. I was not on the TV measurement side. I was more on the ad tech, MarTech side. But tell me some of the, just so the audience knows who Hyphometrics is, because I think you're doing some great innovative stuff. And this was 10 minutes of talking. I'm like, this is really interesting. Let's get into it. So tell the audience a little bit of what you guys are doing at the household level that allows you to sort of take panels in the traditional sense to kind of another level of fidelity and
so first and foremost, we're a technology company.
Yeah.
So we, one of our central tenets and cores is that we will never build a tech that already exists, because we believe that's adding more to the problem that already exists. It's been accumulated over decades at this point. Another way that we position ourselves is that we say we are not ACR, and we measure everything that ACR measures and everything it does not.
Yeah. So, and there's a little fact there that I think you got to share, that you even though you don't use ACR, you've been accused by the big brother, the Nielsen. You've been sued a handful of times, and you've won in every case because you're using a fundamentally different technology.
Absolutely different. One of the first things we did when we started the company was file our patents. We have a very large and robust patent portfolio. All of our technology is proprietary, and we wouldn't have started the company if it wasn't for that. Yeah. So I myself have built an audio ACR panel in the past prior to starting Hypho.
Yep.
So, and my co-founder did as well. So we're very familiar with the ins and outs of how ACR works. And we truly built this company because we wanted to build something that measured everything ACR does and everything.
And ACR, just for those who don't know, is automated content recognition. Is it automated content recognition? Yeah.
Automated and audio.
And audio content recognition. Yeah, and it's at the device level, like the television.
It can
level.
be, yeah. So in the case of CTV, it's embedded in the TV. Yeah. In the case of panels, it usually sits next to a TV on a tablet, and it's continuously listening. Yeah. So think Shazam for content and advertising.
Oh, there we go. Shazam.
Shazam is ACR.
Shazam is ACR. Yeah. I'm doing that all the time in places, right?
There you go.
And for people that don't know how the Nielsen panel they traditionally work, not to spend too much time on that, but because we're going to talk about the puck. I like
and
to
these are
talk.
your words
Right.
about their panel,
Yeah.
not mine.
Is no, you literally come into the house and you've got like a controller and you select, traditionally you'd be recruited to become part of the panel. Like there was a Simpsons episode on the, and you push the button to identify who you are, person A, person B, person C. And then they would track what's happening with watermark technology, what's happening on the television screen, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, for basically reach and frequency assessment and analysis, so that they could then bring that back to the advertisers to say, you're trading against this free reach and frequency at a very basic level. It's age and demographics, right?
Yeah.
What are you guys doing? That was pretty good. I haven't described it. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I haven't done that on a panel live before, so I'm riffing here. No, but what are you guys doing that's different? And tell people about the puck, because I thought this was pretty interesting.
Well, first and foremost, our technology is completely different. So we have a proprietary blend of computer vision, machine learning, and AI.
Yeah.
We started our model 7 years ago, so it's deep tech. We're not, using AI the way it's used today necessarily. And the households are fully consented, so it's a panel.
Yeah.
But the technology is what allows us to measure absolutely everything.
Yeah.
So we send the households a piece of hardware. That hardware is installed within household.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we measure every
and it's
TV.
really like a physical, like, does it have the shape of a puck? I mean,
it looks like an Apple TV.
Yeah.
And you
plug it into your HDMI?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. And that proprietary blend of our technology essentially is acting like a media brain. It's looking for very specific information throughout the stream, and dependent on whether you're streaming something, playing a video game, watching a fast channel, using your set-top box, there's a different set of rules within the algorithm that kicks in to decipher all of that information.
Yes, because the signal is probably slightly different based on whether you're in an app environment, whether you're through a cable television environment, or a PS4 or PS5, whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So each one of those that's within an algorithm in order to address exactly how to measure content and advertising correctly, including brand sponsorships and product placements.
And did you and your co-founder, are you the data science algorithmic gurus behind this? Did you build this?
We are.
Yeah,
so he's the
awesome.
engineer in the relationship. I'm the product corp dev person in the relationship.
Yeah, yeah. So he
came to me.
Is he the math guy? Is that what
he came to me and he was like, Joanna, what if we didn't use ACR in our industry and started using something else? And his background includes building the currency in Mexico. So he's based in Mexico City.
Okay.
And
there we go.
and we conferences.
I've heard great things. I've never been, but I've heard great things about Mexico City.
Call me when you do go.
One of
because
the great
we have the
mega
best
cities on planet Earth,
Amazing.
like London, Mexico City, New York City, maybe Berlin.
Yes.
Maybe Tokyo.
I'd put Mexico City number one.
Wow, you hear that? You heard it here first, man. That is, I really have to go. Jesus.
You do. So he came to me and he said, what if we didn't use ACR? What if we started using consumer grade technology and applying it to the measurement space? And I was like, tell me more.
That's an important point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it is an important point because going back to the fact that we will never build technology that is already existent, a lot of the technology in our space is pretty old.
Yeah.
And
ACR goes back, what?
30 years at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
Watermarking goes back further.
Yeah.
And that technology worked great 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And the basis of that technology is to connect back to scheduled data.
Yeah.
Well, anything dynamic, you can't connect it back to scheduled data. So we found, we got focused on this problem 7 years ago. And 7 years ago, we were streaming as consumers, but not nearly as much as we are today, right?
Yeah.
So we were like, hey, this is just only going to get worse. And we have a solution to solve for it today.
Yeah.
So we started the company 7 years ago. We have a robust patent portfolio. Our technology is completely proprietary.
Yeah. And let me ask you this: does it let you read into? I mean, because just what is the specificity, the granularity of content recognition, right? So I'm assuming it goes down to it's the app or the channel or the game level, right? And then it's the specific content underneath that. Like, what am I? Oh, I'm watching Netflix. What am I streaming? So it's the actual show level content.
It's the show, it's the program, it's the season, it's the episode, it's the product placement and brand sponsorship.
Yeah.
So we can measure user generated content. We can measure
product placement. That's interesting too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How does that work? How are you guys capturing product placement within a streaming environment, for example?
Yep. So that same proprietary blend of AI and machine learning and computer vision, it's picking up all the logos throughout your experience, right? Yeah. So I like to use Stranger Things as an example, where the egos are constantly shown.
Yeah.
Our algorithms pick that up and call it up.
Wow, that's great. And so you're selling this. How are you selling this? I mean, how are you selling this into? Is it a publisher based sale, or is it more of a like the sell side, or is it more of the buy side, or is it a bridge between the two?
So we have a great relationship with Comscore. They're a customer of ours, as is NBCU.
Yep.
However, we're not a rating or a currency.
Yeah.
And we never
Let's make that clear.
make that very clear. We absolutely do not want to
You're
be
not
one.
going to be trading on this.
No.
But you're going to be piping this into other analytics applications,
Correct.
like a Comscore, but potentially, I'm assuming you have a lot of MMM relationships.
We have a lot of relationships with brands.
Yeah, it's media mix modeling or marketing mix modeling for those that go broader than just media, but yes.
We're essentially, the way to think about us is we're the gap filler. So whether you're a brand or a publisher or an ad tech company, you have a proprietary blend of data sets, right?
Yeah.
And that's how everyone is trying to figure out their own magic.
Yeah.
But across those data sets, there's a ton of holes.
Yeah.
Right. You might have this CTV data set and this linear data set and this mobile set, but it's a fraction of the full experience.
Yeah.
We measure the full experience. You license our API. We're data as a service.
Yeah.
You are not allowed to take our API and relicense
I'm glad you didn't create another as a service term, right? Yeah, I heard claw as a service the other day, like OpenClaw, claw as a service, data as a service. Everything's as a service, it seems nowadays. But yeah.
Well,
so how does this extend to? So you've got the television glass, right? It seems like it's everything, but you've also got connection to device level data, right? So
correct.
your iPhone, your iPad, any other sort of device, and so that can track really any type of advertising exposure, right? So it could be any programmatic display. It could be search. I mean, I'm assuming, what about chatbot and LLM? Like, how does all this stuff fit into the...
So going back to being the gap filler, we are the answer for closed loop analytics.
Yeah.
So
you hear that? The answer for closed loop analytics.
Yeah,
You are the commercial leader, aren't you?
So other than the proprietary blend of machine learning and AI, which we call UNI, the Unified Neuromedia Identification Engine.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite foods too.
Mine too.
I do love a good UNI, the briny, the taste of the sea.
Yeah.
Right?
So when we came up with that, I was like, absolutely.
No brainer. No brainer.
So UNI is what measures the entire omni-channel experience on the TV.
Yeah.
It's a software. So we also put it on people's phones and tablets.
Yeah.
We also measure all the activity there.
Yeah.
But separately, we have a router approach where we become the home's mesh network.
Yes.
And that's where we collect all the URL, HTTPS traffic. We see all the ad calls. So in the case of the TV especially, we can see what was actually shown on the TV and then what ad calls are behind it. Because as you know, that doesn't always match up.
Yeah.
So we see absolutely everything down to the individual.
Yeah.
People are measured using Bluetooth and Wi-Fi beacons that act like sonar.
Yep.
And we'd be able to pick up your smartwatch, my phone. So we'd know it'd be the two of us in front of the TV and then all the activity on our phones as well.
Wow. Which can lead to a lot of like, I was exposed to something here in this device, like online, and then I went and committed this action on an iPad or an iPhone or an iWatch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of which I don't think was solved while I was there at like Nielsen Marketing Cloud and Nielsen was they had all this panel data, in TV viewership and reach and frequency, but it was all at the household level, and they really couldn't get it down to the person's level, right? And they used persons plural for some reason. I think that's grammatically correct. And the person level, the person's level, and they were always trying to match that to like this basically data and identity graph that X8 was sort of building, right? It was the early days of sort of you take a cookie pool, you start to match it to mobile IDs, this whole world, right? And you're trying to create a graph that's cross-device that can be predictive of an individual's actions, right? Based on what they're consuming, domains they're going to, all that sort of stuff. And I just found that the bridging of what we saw was the bridging of those two was super difficult, right?
Yeah.
It was very hard to combine the two. And I think that was the promise that was never fully lived up to. It sounds like you guys just had that almost as a native architecture. It's natively built.
But separately, that difficulty within the bridging is because there is no data set other than Haifa that measures absolutely everything.
Yeah.
So if you're bridging, let's say YouTube data to NBCU data, if you don't have a data set that shows you how to bridge it or what else people are doing on other devices and otherwise, those connection points become assumptions.
Yeah.
And they're not fact-based.
Yeah.
So we're providing a data
that fancy term that people love to say, probabilistic, right?
Yeah.
You got probabilistic matching, saying that like from an algorithmic perspective, we're predicting that like X% confidence that this is this person. But it becomes very hard once you start to get down to the device level because how do you really know? It could be a child, whereas you guys are self-identifying at the household level.
But
right?
those probability models become easier when you use our data.
Yeah.
So it is, probability
because people are self-identifying. They're like authenticating device 1, device 2, device 3, person 1, device 2, person 2. And so you have a deterministic signal of exactly what. Now, if device 1 is being used by mom instead of daughter or son, that is a problem because it's still going to be aligned to the person, right? So it's kind of hard to control for that unless you can control for that. Can you? Is it hard?
You can, that comes down to panelist compliance, making sure that they share that kind of information.
So there's an agreement here.
There is an agreement. Panelists are fully, once you sign up to become part of a panel, you fully understand what you're signing up for and why. And why it matters to be compliant.
Yeah, and we were kind of playing around with this question: is who are the people? It's like the Simpsons episode, right? The Simpsons family became like a Nielsen family. Is who are the people that sign up for the panel, and why are they how are they incentivized to do it?
Yeah. Well, so it's a cash incentive, which is common with panels. However, we are representative of the U.S. population. So to answer your question on who, we're making sure that we have the right mix of people that matches the U.S. Census as well as the ARF-Dash survey, which serves as our universe. And then separately, you have to think about a couple of things. One is the general consumer today fully understands that the data is being used. They also are not enjoying their media experiences. And the idea that they can help provide their data to improve their media experiences is actually something that people are excited about. And then separately, our media stack at home is becoming incredibly expensive. And you have to think about your average family. And I encourage everyone to look at U.S. Census data and see what the average family looks like and what average household incomes look like. And layer on a couple of kids and otherwise, and it gets even more expensive and harder, right? So we don't supplement your media stack, but our households do, I think, you
compare people that subscribe to just a cable stack, like back in the day, versus now that we've got multiple subscriptions across multiple streaming providers in a lot of cases. I think that they've done a pretty good job of getting us to spend more money for access to this content. And it's probably an order of magnitude larger, maybe 2-3x what you were spending previously. If you're spending $200, you might be spending $600.
Right.
I'd love to see if there's stats on that fact. Now, one other topic that I thought was important that we cover was MRC accreditation. It was all the hype. Nielsen lost it. Did they regain it? I know they lost MRC accreditation.
They did during COVID, and they regained it.
Regained it, and that was always a large topic of controversy and basically the governance around measurement, so that you're not. You're not sort of they're controlling for Nielsen not being part of the selling of media, so they can play that neutral arbiter role, the referee, right? I get it from a regulatory perspective, but what do you think the role of MRC and MRC accreditation, that's the Media Ratings Council for those that don't know, plays in today's world right now? It's kind of like the ARC question, but like, what do you think?
I think that their role and function should remain as it always been, which is to audit all of these companies and make sure that they're doing what they say they do. And that's where it starts and that's where it ends, and nothing else. I think that they have an incredibly important role and function within our ecosystem. And, one of the amazing things about being here at Possible is all these new companies, and AI is obviously fueling all of that. But what we also are learning, even beyond our industry, is about AI slop. Right. And being audited, I think it's going to become even more important as time goes on. So that function of making sure that companies are doing what they're saying they're doing is incredibly important. Anything beyond that, I don't think that's their role or anybody, providing accreditation.
So you don't think it's like sort of hit a point where it's like, hey, this is no longer relevant in the current ecosystem, right?
I don't believe that. I think, it evokes a certain confidence for traders. I mean, working in this industry, we get comfortable talking about advertising and otherwise, but it's important. It's the attention economy. It's how people get their information. It's how budgets get allocated. We just talked about how...
and you need some sort of governance body, right? Despite some of the controversy, the MRC can be gamed to a certain degree, and that there's influence, especially with Nielsen and folks like that. Hopefully, I'm not getting sued for this, but like in terms of how do you actually influence the decisions of the governing body, right? It's sort of like the regulators controlling the the providers controlling the regulators, right? Like there has been some controversy around that, but it sounds like it does play a good role. May need to adapt and optimize but just in terms of governance of the entire measurement ecosystem.
Right.
Now, and I think we'll finish with this, is that you talked about, and I think there's a theme that I'm hearing from you. I told you I talked to Mike Finnerty, the U.S. president of Mutinex, not Mucinex, Mutinex, about the rise of MMM.
Yeah.
And I've heard this ad nauseum for the last 10 years of my life, and I was involved heavily in it at Newstar. And, people talked about the death of MMM, and it was too slow. It wasn't actionable. There was the rise of MTA for quick, we can make, minute to minute decisions on our media allocation, on our dollar allocation to affect outcomes.
Yeah.
But that's changing now. It seems like MMM is getting a lot faster, a lot more agentically driven, so that it's not as much of a managed service.
Yeah.
What role do you guys play?
Yeah.
It seems like it's a pretty critical role, right? With these MMM providers, for all those out there that haven't heard of.
Yeah. Well, it's incredibly important for us as an industry to just get the counting right.
At the very basic level.
Yeah. And that's what Hype is here to do. Right. So we position ourselves as zero party data. Because we're in the household and we're just at the root measuring.
This is true zero-party data.
This is true zero-party data.
Having to define it in some complex way.
We don't license data sets. We don't merge data sets. It's true zero-party data. A person is exposed to media and we report on that. And that's it.
Yeah.
And that is foundational to our entire ecosystem.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, we're not a rating or a currency, but instead we're here to help facilitate all types of trading, whether it's outcome-based, MMM, currency. It really truly doesn't matter, and it shouldn't.
Yeah.
CMOs should be the one making the decisions for their business and what makes sense for them. And they can't even make those decisions without knowing where we're spending our time. Yeah. And we fundamentally believe that we need to get that right first, and then let the industry do what it needs to do in order to match media buys to consumer behavior. Because right now, I'm pretty sure we can all agree they're not matched.
Yeah. And we're not here to really hype, the people that listen to Signal and Noise, we're not cheerleaders. We're not cheerleading the next, tech company that's changing the universe. But I'm actually buying your story here, right? And if you've been at Possible, you know that everybody's hawking data, right? Everybody's trying to sell data. If you ask who's trying to sell data in a room at Possible, then half the audience is going to raise their hands. But this is honestly a super compelling story, knowing the space and seeing kind of the mechanics of how it works in my career. And it's super exciting. I'm excited for you, and congratulations on launching this. So it's a hard, painful process to build a business. Believe me, I'm in the middle of it, and wish you the best of luck. It was great meeting you.
Yeah.
And thanks everybody.
Thank you.